Food systems currently account for one third of the global greenhouse gas emissions. And with global protein demand set to double by 2050, this could be a climate disaster. But it could also be great news for the planet and for profit if we look to invest in a plant rich food system to drive food security while cutting carbon. One organization at the front and center of driving this transition is Tilt Collective. And I'm delighted to be talking today to their Brazil director, Marcos Lopes, as we partner with Tilt Collective for our food program at Climate Week NYC. We're also joined by nutritionist and public health expert Elisabetta Recine, a nutritionist who has a PhD in public health and is a professor at the University of Brasilia, Brazil, and a member of the steering committee for the Brazilian Alliance for Healthy and Adequate Diets. Welcome, Elisabetta and Marcos. The topic of food systems has gained increasing space and relevance in the climate agenda, while climate considerations have gained increasing prominence in the food agenda. So, what are the main challenges and strategic opportunities for this convergence? And how can COP30 help accelerate this alignment?
Well, thank you for inviting me. I think we can, considering the strong evidence of how much the dominant food systems contribute to climate change, and on the other hand, how climate change is already altering food production conditions. If we consider that all consequences on food production will impact what is accessible to people in cities, that extreme weather events in cities destroy infrastructure and affect the poorest communities, we can expect an increased risk of food insecurity and hunger. And for all of this, it was about time that the topic of food systems was included more consistently in COP discussions. In the action agenda, for example, that was proposed by the Brazilian presidency, this issue has gained more visibility by including agriculture and food systems transformation as one of its thematic axes. And one of the objectives of this axis is more resilient and adaptive and sustainable food systems. One of the challenges, of course, is that those who suffer the worst impacts are the ones with the least access to decision making process. I think that Brazil has very important experiences of dialogue between civil society and government, making public policies more open and able to incorporate this knowledge and this practice.
First of all, Marcos, we often hear uh, the false differences between climate action and development. How can the transition to more sustainable food systems become an opportunity for social economic developments, particularly in the global south?
I think we are constantly flooded with misleading arguments that sustain the narrative that agri food systems, especially in the global south, are the engines of economic development, especially because the global south has been burdened with this role of feeding the world. But there is robust evidence, including from the Food Systems Economic Commission and the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization, showing that if we take a deeper look, we will see that the hidden costs of current food systems already overweight their economic returns. In practice, that means that current food systems are draining more resources from economies than they are actually contributing or giving back.
There is a growing consensus within the climate movement on the importance of climate action resulting in just transition. However, there is less alignment on what a just transition in food systems could look like in practice. So, as an expert on the matter, what do you know about what a just transition in food system entails, and about the concrete pathways and tools to get there? What can we learn from the Brazilian experience?
So when we talk about a just transition on food systems, it's essential to ensure that no measure increase in inequalities. Innovations cannot become another layer of exclusion. Transformation must protect and restore our biomes and biodiversity, while also reversing the model so that health foods become more widely available.
Thank you very much. And as a final question, what is holding us back from combining efforts in a global movement towards a healthier and more sustainable food system?
First, I think the dominant food systems is global. So food supplies, process, and investments are all interconnected. Another challenge is that society as a whole is still not well informed and not aware about the gravity of the problem. The distance that has grown between people and their food has only made things worse. Many no longer know where their food comes from, what external cost it generates, or the consequences of their food choices. It seems to me that there is still a degree of denial and the illusion that some will be protected from the consequences that we are already facing.
You don't need to be an expert or an economist to see that it's not a smart economic choice. So why do we continue going down this path? Imagine what it would mean if we level the playing field, redirecting investment and land use more fairly. The impact this would have in terms of availability and affordability of food, considering that food is a major driver of inflation, and inflation has been a key economic issue global wise, but especially in the global south. This has a tremendous potential of like bringing more good to our economy without talking about like job creations and the other social environmental benefits.